So just grateful for this opportunity to get together once again to practice some meditation, to talk a little bit about mindfulness, not just during meditation, but also how we can take it into our everyday life. So just grateful that you're here and willing to practice. So we'll begin as we usually do with just a short meditation just to kind of land here. So you can take whatever your meditation seat is, what posture is comfortable for you to be able to stay relatively still for a few minutes to just check in. So feeling the support of either sitting, standing, or lying down, whatever's supporting you. Closing the eyes if you're comfortable doing that. Otherwise, just having a soft gaze, not looking around. And we'll let the bell transition us. So the bell is just an invitation to notice that we're going to do something a little different than we were just a few seconds ago. And it's inviting us to come into this meditation, this chance to go inward, to just check in to see how's the mind, how's the body right here, this direct experience of ours. So just checking in, how is the mind? What's the energy? What's the mood of the mind? Is it scattered, or does it feel calm and collected? Is it sleepy, crabby? What is it? Whatever it is, whatever the mood is, just noticing that it's like this. And then checking in with the body. So does there feel any tension somewhere, or is there agitation, or is it just calm and relaxed and centered? Is it numb? Do we not feel anything? We can notice that too. And we do this initial check-in just with the mind and the body as a way to go from the normal busyness of our everyday life. We're usually thinking, planning, doing, reading, using the mental activities, maybe doing some physical things, but mostly living in our heads and thinking about the future, the past. This is our chance to practice just being present with what's right here, right now. We do this often by coming into awareness of the body, taking us out of the constant thinking, analyzing, and just really noticing the sensations in the body as a way to allow the mind to, rather than thinking, living in the past or the future, coming into this present physical existence. So how is it?
There we go.
We choose something to allow us to really know we're here. Maybe it's the sensation of the body resting, the feet on the floor, or the support of the chair or whatever is supporting the body. We can feel that pressure, tune into that. Notice that sensation, or maybe if there's not enough happening there for the mind to want to pay attention to, we can tune into the sense of the body breathing. So feeling the sensation of breathing in, the sensation of breathing out, knowing when we're breathing in and breathing out. Noticing how we experience that. Do we feel it as the physical sensation of the breath, the nose or the throat or the belly? Or is it this just a sensation of the body receiving energy on the inhalation, letting go on the exhalation? Just being with this sensation of breathing. And with that invitation, it may be that we stay with that, or maybe the mind has other ideas. Maybe it wants to think about the past or the future, complain about some physical sensation. So we can notice if the mind, what it's paying attention to, if it's not just watching the breath. And whatever the mind is doing, whether it's with the breath or whether it's thinking or sleeping, just feeling the energy of that, whatever it's doing. The mind's paying attention to this. How's that feel? Does it feel like we're being pushed around by thoughts or sensations? Or does it feel fairly steady, centered, calm? We don't judge any of this, we just notice how it is. Is there a sense of stillness or ease? Or is there some sense of movement, of moving towards and moving away from? So noticing what the mind's being attentive to, and noticing how that feels in the mind, if there's stillness or if there's movement. So we start to see cause and effect. We start to see what we're paying attention to can affect how the mind feels. And maybe the mind just feels interested, curious. We can notice what that feels like. Is there an energy to that? How is it right now? In this mind and this body. Come back again to just the general sense of awareness of the body resting on the support, the floor, the chair, whatever. The sense of the body breathing, receiving, letting go. And the mind just observing these things, or observing thoughts. This awareness of being present right here, right now. Knowing that we're knowing. And noticing how that affects the mood of the mind. This is a basic practice, this presence, this knowing. So the bell is an invitation to bring the mind back to the surface again. Opening the eyes if they were closed and just coming back to being aware of being together here. So just that initial invitation to start getting the mind to pay attention to what's happening now. That's really all that first meditation is. Usually when we arrive at these, looking at things online, we're agitated before we get there. And once you arrive, you get even more agitated once you get on an electronic device. But what we're doing in that first invitation to practice meditation is just getting the mind in the mood to start paying more attention to really being present, and it's a way of transitioning from whatever was before to being right here, right now. And this is our training to just be more aware of being present right here. For a topic to explore today, I think maybe you noticed something in that first meditation just about what was the energy of the mind. Was it moving around a lot, or was it relatively still? A lot of us, we come to meditation because we want stillness. So there's this whole desire about wanting stillness, and the more we want it, the less likely we'll probably get it. Because that wanting has an energy to it, right? So So part of what, and Nancy does this too, I think, in her sessions, we can make an invitation to the mind to just be present with whatever is up. You know, we want to notice what's happening, but we don't want to get caught up in it and be pushed around. And I think it's this feeling pushed around by what's happening in the world, whether it's the news of the day or our physical condition or our mental condition, or maybe loss of a loved one or concern about someone else. All these things we get pushed around by these thoughts, these things that we're thinking about. Or maybe we're thinking about something we desire, like wanting to go on a vacation, and there's all this energy that goes into that, and we get pushed around by that desire, needing, you know, that outward movement. And it's that being pushed around that can set us off balance. And all this being pushed around happens, of course, in the mind, and then it affects the body, and we feel agitated or we feel exhausted or whatever. So when we're practicing meditation, we can invite the mind to just, you know, we invite it to pay attention to a specific object. And maybe you'll stay like with the breath or the body for a while, but then you'll get bored and you'll go off and do something else. And it starts getting pushed around by the thoughts again. And so in our meditation practice, like maybe that's what happened in that first meditation. We can see that happening and just notice what the effect is, and then re-inviting the mind to just be present, just be there with whatever's happening. And that way we can learn to, as we feel pushed around by our daily life activities, we can learn to just be present with it and maybe not have it take us over. So what we're really practicing ultimately is to develop more what some would call equanimity, which is an interesting word. Equa, you know, like being equal, being balanced. One of my teachers calls it, the definition is in the middleness. So being in the middle of whatever's happening without being pushed around. And the reason I was thinking about this is I was reading something by one of my teachers that I'd like to share with you, that really, this isn't an expectation to be totally calm, right? Meditation isn't going to guarantee that we're going to be calm in our life, but can we be there and not be pushed around by all our emotions, our desires, or our not liking? That's what he's really talking about, this way of just being with a little bit more equipoise, I guess is another word that's sometimes used. That says equanimity, this balance. So equanimity is characterized as that quality which brings about a sense of neutrality or an evenness of heart towards all beings or all experiences. Its function is in maintaining a steadiness of mind and not allowing differences, whether physical, intellectual, spiritual, or whatever, to detract or influence our perception of those with whom we come in contact. And I would say, or any experience we come in contact with. Its proximate cause is understanding that our actions bear results that affect us, and in effect, that we create our own future world or experiences. So again, we're creating, and we create all this in the mind. Equanimity is understanding how the basic laws of nature work, the recognition that our lives are governed by the way we conduct our lives. And this takes us into a lot of times where news is a big thing these days. We're tuned into the suffering of other people. And that's part of what's got a lot of us pushed off balance, the wars and just the general suffering that's happening in the world. And so he continues, where the suffering of others is concerned, we recognize that by making ourselves suffer, we do not decrease or take away the suffering of others. We can work to alleviate another's suffering, or we can delight in another's good fortune. But there's a point at which one has to exercise equanimity, being aware of one's own well-being. To try and take on someone else's life and carry it around is not equanimity. Equanimity is not taking on more than what's actually necessary or beneficial. Equanimity succeeds when it is aware of the movement of the mind, the wanting and not wanting, approval and disapproval. And one is able to establish an evenness of mind, a clarity that see things for what they are. Equanimity fails when it causes indifference or not caring. Indifference could be due to a lack of attention or clarity, or to being unwilling to deal with a situation because it's too much effort is required. So this is like a key concept. The equanimity succeeds when it's aware of the movement of the mind, the wanting, the not wanting, the approval, the disapproval. And what we're looking for is to just notice when the mind is liking, not liking, and not be pushed around by it. Just be aware of it and just be there with a sense of evenness. So this true equanimity does not hinder compassion or action, but rather enhances it by developing the discernment to know how and when to engage. Because again, if the mind is calm, there's a clarity there that knows when and how to engage. So that the far enemy of equanimity is aversion and greed, the liking, the disliking. So the equanimity is that quality that's not shaken by the movement of worldly experience or by the ways of the world. So that's what we're looking for, this unshakability, this steadiness of mind, of heart, that allow us to be with whatever's happening, whether to us or to others in the world, those we care about or those halfway around the world, to not get pushed around by all this liking and disliking. And of course, we can see this happening in our meditation practice all the time, right? We set an intention to be with a certain object, and maybe we're with it for a while and there's some amount of calming, but then either the mind gets bored and doesn't like it anymore and wants something more interesting, or the mind goes off and is distracted and starts planning or thinking, and we start getting pushed around by all this, either the boredom or the not liking or the wanting something else. And so we can feel the energy of that, and just being with it, we're not trying to push it away, we're not trying to be anything different, but we're trying to just encourage the mind, just be present with this, like noticing, like boredom feels like this, agitation feels like this. And then we can re-invite the mind to just come back to paying attention to something more neutral, like the breath or the sensation in the body or whatever our object is, that allows the mind to settle down, and we can have a little more calm and clarity. But if when we're meditating and something comes up, it's something we're worrying about, and we feel like we need to fix it right now, notice the energy of that, invite it to come back down again, but maybe just by reducing the energy of it a little bit, by coming back to the meditation object, it might come up again, but maybe you'll have a little bit more clarity. But just watching these movements and how the mind gets pushed around, and what does allow us to feel like we have calm and clarity, and what things we're pushed around by. What can we be in the middle of physical pain? Can we be in the middle of disturbing thoughts? Can we just be present with it? And we do this training in meditation because we don't always have a perfect meditation, right? Being just present with the breath or whatever. Usually the mind does something else. So can we just notice when we are and when we are not able to just be with whatever's going on? And we notice if we're irritated by our irritation, it builds on itself and gets worse, but when we can just notice, like, oh, irritation is like this, then we can just be present with it. And if we just allow that energy to just be there, it'll move on by itself, and something else will come up. So this is our practice, and over again, we do this, and we do this both for training the mind to be able to be calm as much as it's able to, which gives us a break from some of this crazy energy that we do in our daily life. But also it's training us to be present with everything else that the mind has in mind and how to be present with it with a little more ease. So again, that's the wanting, the not wanting, the approval, disapproval, whatever it is. Can we just be with that, be in the middle of it, and not try to push it away or get rid of it? So this is our practice, and it goes on and on and on. And so being curious about, what is the mind up to, and every day, every sit is different. So it gives us something else to notice. Oh, this is what's going on now. Where did that come from? And maybe even have a sense of humor about it. But curiosity, we always talk about that. So all of these things are helpful to train the mind to just be present with what's here right now, whatever it is that comes up. So that's enough talking, probably. Plant some seeds of what to possibly look at during this meditation. So as always, the best thing to do is directly experience it, not just hear the theory of it. So let's go back into practice. So inviting the body to be back in a meditation posture, maybe readjusting to get that sense of being supported, that groundedness, the upright alertness, but also the sense of relaxation. Closing the eyes if you're comfortable, or just a soft gaze. And the bell is going to invite us to come back inwards. So the fading of the sound of the bell brings us back inward. And we can maybe start just by being grateful to have this time, to really take a look at what the habits of the mind are, how that affects the mind and the body, and the opportunity to maybe train the mind to pay more attention to what's going on with curiosity, with kindness. To see what the mind watches itself, like seeing its own habits and seeing what feels beneficial, what causes stress, and inviting the mind to just be in the middle of it all. So that's the intention for this meditation, is to practice being in the middle, whatever comes up. Can we just be with it, notice the effect, not hold on to it, not push it away. So with that intention, we can give the mind something to do, choosing a meditation object. Maybe you have one that you work with all the time, or if that really works for you, that allows the mind to be at rest, be interested. If not, I suggest just working with the sense of the body breathing, noticing when you're breathing in, that you're breathing in, when you're breathing out, that you're breathing out. So inviting the mind to just pay attention to this simple meditation object, something in the body, the breath, whatever you choose, just setting the attention to be present with that, moment to moment. It's like this right now. It's like this right now. And we can notice if the mind is still present with the meditation object, or if it's wandered away, thinking, planning, remembering, sleeping, fantasizing, whatever it's doing. Just noticing what the mind does, noticing the effect that it has on the mind. If it's being pushed around, or if it's at relative ease. Just noticing. In this way we learn, moment to moment, how the mind's relating to experience and what the effect is. And then we come back, resetting the intention to be with our meditation object. The intention to stay with it, and then watching moment to moment what the mind's paying attention to. And the effect. Are we still present with our meditation object, or is the mind doing something else? Whatever it's doing, can we be with that without being pushed around? Can we just be present? And come back, resetting the intention to be with our meditation object. Are we still present with our experience? Maybe observing, curious what's going on with our meditation object or whatever the mind is doing. Can we be in the middle of thoughts, feelings, sensations? We're just observing, just being there and not being pushed around. It's like this. Noticing what the mind's paying attention to. Notice if we're getting pushed around. If the mind is sleepy, we're being pushed around by sleepiness. And once we become aware of it, then we can invite something that allows the mind to wake up. Counting, paying closer attention, whatever. Or if the mind's agitated, you can notice agitation is like this. And rather than getting caught up in the thoughts or the stories or the sensation that cause the agitation, just being present, being in the middle of it, and then resetting the intention, whatever the mind was paying attention to, coming back to the meditation object. Can we stay interested in that too? Moment to moment experience. the observing mind in the middle, watching it with curiosity and not getting pushed around by it. Are we still present in the middle of our experience? Or is the mind getting pushed around by agitation or sleepiness, whatever? Just notice. And invite curiosity about what's happening right here, right now, what the mind's doing, what the effect is. Can the mind just be present, be with, in the middle of it, observing, but not caught up in whatever the experience is? So whatever it is, we could even use a phrase to keep the mind engaged. We can even go, whatever we see it paying attention to, just say, sleepiness is like this, or agitation is like this, or planning is like this. Body pain is like this. And just be in the middle of it. And then invite the mind to go back to the meditation object, to not as a distraction, but as an anchor, an invitation to a neutral object to pay attention to, be in the middle of, and see what happens. Be with moment to moment experience. It's like this. Is the mind still present with our meditation object or with some other experience? And is it just present in the middle, observing it, or is it caught up, being pushed around? We don't judge this, we just notice what the mind is paying attention to, how it's affected, and re-inviting the mind to just be present in the middle of it, steady, not pushed around. It's like this. And in the next moment, it's like this. So this quality of equanimity, of being in the middle of our experience, whatever it is, whether you thought this was, you're having a good sit or a bad sit, whatever you think you're judging your meditation, can we just be in the middle of it? Training the mind to be present with whatever experience comes up, with clarity, with compassion, with kindness, with curiosity. What's this experience and what's the effect on the mind and the body? We do this moment to moment in meditation to train the mind to take this into the world. So we're aware of when we're being pushed around in the world as well. We do this because the mind will naturally be inclined towards more ease once it sees what causes irritation. We do this for our benefit and the benefit for all beings. This in the middleness, this equanimity. This is our practice. So the bell is an invitation to bring the awareness back to the surface. Maybe reflecting on your experience in that relatively long sit. Probably a number of different things happened. What you might have learned about the habits of your own mind. What you could be in the middle of without being pushed around, and what pushed you around. Or what put you to sleep. Whatever it was. Every time we do this, we learn something. So that's what I have to offer for today. Hopefully something was useful that you can have as a takeaway. Thanks so much for being present here today. Just good to know that we're all here. We're all doing our work. We're all doing this practice to train to be more aware of how to be more equanimous, less reactive in this world, and hopefully there'll be a benefit for all beings. So thanks again for being here.